Imagine you're a Fortune 500 CEO.
Right?
You're staring down the barrel of the AI revolution, and you just suddenly realize that you need to completely restructure your entire company.
Right, like top to bottom.
Exactly. You have to figure out how humans and AI are actually going to work together across,
Mm.
thousands of roles. So logically, you've got the elite legacy management consulting firms. I mean, we're talking McKinsey, Deloitte. They're right there on speed dial.
Oh, yeah, just waiting for the call.
Yeah, but so why are the absolute smartest leaders in business just ignoring them and instead handing the keys to their organizational architecture over to, of all things, a temp agency?
I know it sounds completely backwards at first glance, right? Because historically you would never ever ask the people who just filled the empty chairs to redesign the entire building.
Right? It makes no sense.
But that structural flip is actually the defining business reality of the moment. I mean, the traditional map of how work gets done. It's basically been burned to the ground.
Which brings us to our mission for this deep dive. Today, we are exploring how AI is fundamentally redesigning work itself. We are pulling apart a massive stack of high-level industry white papers, CEO messaging matrices, and strategic McKinsey reports.
Yeah, some really dense material, but so important.
Very. And our goal is to understand why staffing agencies, all the entities out there, are positioned to become the ultimate, quote, workforce transformation intermediaries.
And we're really going to look at the mechanics behind this. We aren't just looking at the theory here. We are diving into the daily operational realities of how work is changing.
Right.
And really why the businesses sitting closest to the actual hiring transactions, they're the ones holding all the cards now.
So whether you are a hiring manager trying to build a resilient team, or maybe you're a job seeker terrified of becoming obsolete, or even just someone fascinated by the mechanics of the new economy, understanding this shift is really, it's your ultimate shortcut to navigating the AI-augmented landscape.
It really is. You have to understand this.
Okay, let's unpack this. Before we can even understand how staffing agencies are going to swoop in and save the day, we first have to understand exactly how AI just completely broke the traditional hiring model.
Yeah, well, it broke it by essentially destroying the single metric we've relied on for, what, a century? A
Yeah,
resume.
right. The good old PDF.
Exactly, because traditional recruiting has always been a game of keyword matching. You need a senior financial analyst, right? So a recruiter just stands a database for a piece of paper that literally says senior financial analyst alongside, I don't know, a list of software proficiencies.
But in an AI-augmented environment, I mean, that static job title doesn't really mean anything anymore, does it?
No, not at all, because AI isn't just like a new tool you add to the bottom of your resume under skills. It actually alters the fundamental structure of the work.
Oh.
Like, look at what is happening over at Snowflake right now. Their CEO, Sridhar Ramaswamy, he framed this as the industrialization of intelligence.
That's a good phrase.
Right. He pointed out that some developers on his team are now, get this, 50 to 100 times more productive than they were just a year ago.
Wait, really? 100 times?
Yeah. They are morphing from standard coders into what he calls Uber programmers. The nature of the work is changing, not just the tools they use to do it.
I mean, we all know that one guy in the office who claims he's doing 50 times the work, but really he's just, using ChatGPT to write all his emails in the style of Shakespeare or whatever.
That's for sure. We all know that guy.
But Ramaswamy is talking about something much deeper than that. He's talking about a fundamental shift in real capability.
He is. Because if a developer's job has evolved from manually typing out individual lines of code to like orchestrating a massive multi-agent AI system, then the old way of hiring just completely failed.
Okay, let's translate that for anyone who isn't currently building software in Silicon Valley right now. When we say multi-agent AI orchestration, we're basically talking about managing a team of digital robots, right?
Yeah, think of it like being an executive chef instead of a line cook.
Oh, like that?
So you have one AI agent chopping the vegetables, right? Maybe that's a Python program that scrapes raw data. Another AI agent is monitoring the oven temperature, so that's like an error checking algorithm.
Okay.
And a third is plating the dish. So the human's job is no longer to stand there and chop the onions.
Right, the human is overseeing the whole kitchen.
Exactly. The human's job is to orchestrate those three distinct AI tools, ensure they actually communicate, taste the final product for quality, and serve it.
And a keyword search on a PDF resume is never, ever going to tell you if someone is a good executive chef.
Nope.
It basically just tells you that they used to own a knife.
That is exactly it. And that leads to a massive organizational vulnerability. Tengai Catlin at McKinsey, he calls this the productivity trap.
The productivity trap.
Yeah, because if everyone in your industry goes out and just buys the exact same AI tools to simply do their old workflows a little bit faster,
Then everybody's just running faster in place.
right, your competitive advantage drops to absolute zero. You haven't transformed anything at all. You've literally just automated the baseline.
It's like trying to measure Wi-Fi speed with a wooden ruler.
Oh, that's a great way to put it.
The tool you are using to measure simply does not match the reality of what is actually being measured.
Yeah.
And the traditional recruiting model is just that wooden ruler.
Yeah. This raises an important question. If the old way of evaluating talent is completely broken, who actually holds the solution?
Right, which brings us right back to that Fortune 500 CEO we talked about at the start.
Yeah.
They're facing this massive structural redesign.
Yep.
But instead of calling an elite management consultant, they're calling a staffing firm. And I have to push back here. Wait, why would a Fortune 500 company trust a recruiting agency to design their organizational architecture instead of a traditional elite management consultant?
I get it. It sounds crazy. But it really comes down to one critical concept about the capability signal.
The capability signal.
Yeah. See, management consultants are brilliant at abstract strategy, right? They can write a beautiful 100-page slide deck on what an AI-augmented workflow should look like in theory.
Right, lots of charts and graphs.
Exactly. But staffing firms sit closest to the true capability signal. They're right there in the trenches, testing reality every single day.
Okay, so if I'm understanding this right, that means staffing agencies aren't just looking at what a candidate claims they can do. They sit right at the exact intersection of like what the employer is asking for, what the candidate can actually perform, and what the final outcome of that placement is.
You've got it. It is the fundamental difference between abstract theory and observed evidence. Staffing firms, they conduct daily practical assessments.
Oh, I see.
So they have direct, empirical, real-world data on which specific combinations of human judgment and digital labor actually succeed in a live corporate environment.
So they don't just theorize about the executive chef, they literally watch them cook every single day.
Exactly. And the smart CEOs in the staffing industry are aggressively leaning into this. Like Burt Bean over at Insight Global.
Right, he was in the sources.
Yeah, he is shifting his firm's focus entirely toward AI capability verification. He knows that if his company just keeps matching keywords, a basic AI screening tool is going to commoditize them out of existence.
They'll just disappear. And David Farmer at Hornum is doing the exact same thing in the data talent niche, right?
Yeah, he realizes that when AI completely changes what data analytics even means, the staffing firm has to step up and be the authority that defines the new standard for the client.
So they're moving from basically just filling pre-existing boxes on an org chart to actually drawing the boxes themselves.
Exactly. But to pull that off, to actually beat the consulting firms and earn that level of strategic trust from a CEO,
Yeah.
these agencies have to completely tear down their internal operations. They have to stop selling labor inventory, which is really just a polite corporate phrase for putting warm bodies in seats.
Right.
And they have to start selling workforce clarity based on actual capability matching.
And doing that requires a whole new operational playbook. The industry is essentially moving toward a highly consultative intermediary model, and the sources break this down into 4 distinct layers.
Yes, the 4 layers.
I want to really dig into these because this is where the theory hits the pavement for you listening. Layer 1 is task and capability mapping.
Right. So instead of looking at a generic job title, the modern staffing agency actually sits down with a hiring manager and physically decomposes the role.
They break it down.
Yeah. They take a job like, say, supply chain manager and break it into 50 individual tasks on a whiteboard. Then they map those tasks out, like which ones actually require human empathy and negotiation, and which ones can be handed off to an AI forecasting agent.
Think about your own job right now listening to this. If your boss walked in tomorrow and asked you to break down your Tuesday into tasks a human must do versus tasks an AI could do, could you?
Most people can't yet.
Right. Because if you can't, a modernized staffing agency is about to do it for your boss. And once they map those tasks, they move to layer 2, which is validated assessment. We are finally, thankfully, killing the traditional behavioral interview.
Oh, goodbye. Tell me about a time you overcame a challenge.
Right. Honestly, good riddance. Instead, agencies are building what they call sandbox environments.
Yeah, a sandbox. It's a simulated, secure work environment where candidates have to prove their capability live. The agency isn't just testing if you memorized a coding language or some financial formula.
What are they testing then?
They are testing your prompt and workflow literacy. Like, they will intentionally give you a flawed output from an AI assistant just to see what you do with it,
Oh, wow, a trap.
basically. Do you blindly accept the machine's error? Or do you spot the hallucination, correct the AI, and guide it to the right answer?
That is such a crucial distinction. It's testing judgment, not just recall. Which brings us to the third layer, hybrid workforce design. So based on that task mapping and those sandbox assessments, the agency literally orchestrates the optimal mix of talent for the client.
Let's use a concrete example for this. Say a client needs to build a market research department. The staffing agency doesn't just hire 5 junior analysts anymore.
Right.
They design a hybrid team. They provide an AI agent calibrated to scrape and clean global market data 24/7.
Okay.
Then they place one highly verified senior human analyst whose sole capability is synthesizing that clean data into executive strategy. So they are designing the actual workflow, not just filling a desk.
And they prove it works with the fourth layer, delivery analytics. The agency doesn't just, collect their placement fee and vanish into the night.
No, those days are over.
They track the post-placement performance to ensure that the client's readiness gaps were actually closed by that specific human-AI combination.
It creates this continuous closed loop of accountability. The agency is actually on the hook for the outcome.
So what does this all mean? Because this four-layer model sounds amazing on paper, but there has to be a massive bottleneck here. You can't just flip a switch and turn a traditional recruiter into an AI workforce architect overnight.
Oh, definitely not. And the reports are incredibly blunt about this. Traditional recruiters are, frankly, wildly unqualified to assess advanced technical capabilities like multi-agent orchestration.
Ouch. I mean, that's harsh.
It's the harsh truth. It means these firms have to make massive internal capital investments in recruiter upskilling. Recruiters, they don't need to become software engineers, but they absolutely have to learn how to ask deeply contextual questions.
Right. They need to be able to tell the difference between a candidate who just uses a basic AI code generator to fake their way through and candidate who truly understands the underlying system architecture.
Exactly. Because if the recruiter can't spot the fraud in the sandbox, they just end up selling snake oil to the client.
And then the entire consultative model just collapses.
Trust is everything in this new paradigm.
Which perfectly transitions us into the existential strategic risks of this shift. Because transitioning to this consultative model carries massive traps for the agencies that get it wrong.
Huge risks.
The primary risk being what is known in the sources as the speed trap.
Yeah, the speed trap. This happens when staffing leadership approaches AI with just a pure scarcity mindset. They look at generative AI and think, great, we can use this to automate our email outreach and scan 1,000 resumes a second.
It's just doing the old things faster.
Right. We can fire half our recruiting staff and cut costs.
So they use this incredibly revolutionary technology to do the exact same wrong thing, just much, much faster.
And it leads straight to a race to the bottom. Because if all a staffing firm offers is fast resume matching, a client doesn't need them.
No, they could just buy an algorithm to do that internally.
Exactly. The staffing firm disintermediates itself by chasing short-term efficiency instead of long-term capability.
And beyond just commoditization, doing things the old way but faster opens up a terrifying legal reality.
Oh, the liability.
Yeah, trust, compliance, and liability are really dominating the conversation right now.
Yeah.
As AI gets embedded in hiring, the legal stakes are absolutely skyrocketing. We're looking at global frameworks like the EU AI Act.
Which is huge.
It is. And it specifically classifies employment and worker management as high-risk use cases for artificial intelligence.
Right. And these global regulations demand strict, auditable human oversight. If an agency just lets an algorithm blindly screen candidates, and that algorithm develops a bias,
Which we've seen happen before.
many times, then the agency and the client are exposed to massive legal liability. What's fascinating here is that human judgment becomes more valuable in AI hiring, not less.
Which brings us to a really great insight from the McKinsey reports. They outline these 7 operating truths of AI-native companies.
Yeah, that was a standout section.
One of those truths is, trust precedes autonomy. Contrary to the popular fear that AI is just going to blindly replace all human decision-making in high-stakes environments like hiring, you need that human anchor. McKinsey advocates for a model they call progressive autonomy.
I love the concept of progressive autonomy. You don't just hand the machine the keys to the entire hiring pipeline on day one. The AI generates the options, but the humans judge them.
It's exactly like teaching a teenager how to drive. You don't just toss a 16-year-old the keys to a Ferrari and tell them to hit the highway.
No, that ends in a crash.
Every time. It's
Yeah.
full automation.
Uh-huh.
Instead, you start in an empty parking lot, right?
Yep.
A sandbox.
Yep.
Then you move to the passenger seat so you have direct human oversight. And they only get to drive alone when they have proven their judgment over time. The AI system has to earn its freedom by consistently proving to the human operators that it deserves it.
That is a perfect way to look at it. If a staffing agency fails to maintain that discipline, if they hand over the Ferrari keys too early just to save a few bucks, they lose client trust instantly.
And the legal repercussions will bury them. But here's where it gets really interesting, though. Because the agencies that successfully navigate that speed trap, the ones that upskill their recruiters, maintain that strict human-in-the-loop compliance, and execute those 4 layers of workforce design,
Yeah.
they aren't just surviving. They are capturing the ultimate strategic prize of the modern economy, proprietary data.
Yes.
Over time, the best staffing firms completely transcend the role of a placement vendor, and they become workforce intelligence companies.
They build what the industry is calling a staffing data moat.
A data moat. We hear that phrase thrown around in Silicon Valley constantly, right?
Yeah, but how does a staffing agency actually build one?
Well, they build it because every single touch point in that new 4-layer model generates intelligence. I mean, the initial whiteboard session breaking down the role, the candidate screening, the sandbox assessment, the manager feedback,
Even the post-placement analytics.
all of it.
But wait, haven't recruiters always taken notes during interviews? Like, don't they already have this data? Well, traditionally, they collected it incidentally. It was just unstructured exhaust from the hiring process, a pile of PDF resumes and messy interview notes shoved in a filing cabinet somewhere.
Right.
But the paradigm shift requires moving from incidental data collection to intentional data collection.
And this is where we have to talk about SaaS,
Yeah.
right? Software as a service. These are the cloud-based platforms companies use to run their operations. Staffing firms are deeply integrating their workflows into these SaaS platforms using standardized rubrics.
Exactly. So instead of a recruiter writing good interview on a legal pad, they are inputting highly structured, queryable data into a centralized system.
And the moat is that continuous feedback loop. The data set compounds over time. Because they are tracking post-placement performance, the system starts to reveal hidden patterns.
Yeah, it shows exactly which specific skills actually matter for an AI-augmented role, which psychological profiles succeed in these hybrid teams, and where capability gaps consistently appear across entire industries.
And this is the magic trick. Because this data is generated through live, repeated, real-world talent transactions inside proprietary sandbox environments.
Wait, sorry, inside those proprietary environments, it is impossible for competitors or external AI models to just scrape it from the public web.
You literally can't.
You can't just crawl the internet to find out how a specific candidate performed in a private simulated workflow test or how their manager rated their prompt literacy 6 months after they were hired.
No, because that intelligence is entirely exclusive to the firm that facilitated the transaction. It is highly defensible. It is a true moat.
So let's bring this all together for you listening right now. We've gone on quite a journey today. We started by looking at how AI completely broke the traditional resume, turning keyword matching into a very dangerous productivity trap.
Right, and we explored why staffing firms, because they sit right at the intersection of demand, capability, and outcome, are perfectly positioned to replace those traditional management consultants. We unpacked the mechanics of how this actually works on the ground.
Yeah.
Moving toward consultative, evidence-based capability matching. We're talking about mapping tasks, building sandbox environments, designing those hybrid human AI teams, and tracking the analytics.
And understanding the shift gives you a massive advantage. You now know the new rules of the game, whether you are trying to hire the right talent or trying to prove your own capability to an employer.
But there's a final bigger picture here that ties all this together. If we pull back and look at the broader business landscape, company survival today depends entirely on one thing.
Data.
Exactly. Think about the insurance industry. They don't just sell policies anymore. They survive by collecting massive amounts of behavioral and risk data to price their products accurately.
Or look at social media platforms. The product isn't a place to share photos. The product is the deep engagement data they collect to drive hyper-targeted monetization.
Even the automotive industry is doing this. The biggest car manufacturers are shifting their core profit models away from just selling physical steel and rubber.
Right, they want to sell subscriptions.
Exactly. Software subscriptions driven by the continuous sensor data the car collects while you drive it. The long-term vision is always data.
The paradigm is incredibly clear across the board. Long-term longevity and profit do not come from the initial transaction. They come from the proprietary data collected, the exclusivity rights to that data, and the mobility to grow into new markets as a result of that intelligence.
And forward-thinking staffing companies are now following this exact paradigm. By leveraging AI and SaaS platforms, they are turning every single job placement into a data point for their proprietary workforce moat.
Yeah, in the future, the true value of these staffing firms won't come from the margin they make on the individual people they place. It will come from the exclusive, compounding workforce intelligence they collect along the way.
They will essentially cease to be labor brokers, and they will become the ultimate arbiters of human capability in the AI era.
It's a complete reinvention of the industry.
So the next time you feel like you are trying to navigate your career or your company's growth using an outdated map, remember that the map makers are changing. The old paper map of job titles is burning.
It's already ash.
We are entering an era of real-time, high-definition GPS for human capability. And the question for you is, are you ready to be measured by what you can actually do in the sandbox, rather than what a piece of paper says you did?